So we had a look at how we test components. Let's now have a look at containers like the Burger Builder. How do we test these? The tricky part about containers is that they are connected to the Redux store here. The Redux store is some external influence on this component. If it weren't connected, testing it would just be very equal to the other components. Because then yes, it might have state, but Ansem actually also has methods to handle this. Just as we have set props, we also have set state to simulate different states in a component. So the tricky thing really is the Redux store. Now, the good thing is we don't really need to test the connection of this container to the Redux store. We can rely on the Redux store to work correctly. And then in the end, we only receive data from the store as props to this container. So we're back to the previous world. We can just simulate props in our tests because we want to simulate different outcomes and different states of props anyways. So that we don't want to connect it to some real store. We don't want to test if the store passes this correctly to this component. That's the job of the connect method, and that's coming from a third-party library. We can rely on that to work correctly. So what we really need to do is we need to get access to the component behind this container, so to say. And one convenient trick is to simply export this Burger Builder class. So simply add the export statement in front of this. This now gives us a named export in this file, Burger Builder, which gets access to this class, which is just a React component. And we still have the default export we use in our app. But now we can write a testing file, burgerbuilder.test.js, and simply import the Burger Builder class here with the named export from /burgerbuilder. This can now be rendered again with shallow and so on, just as we rendered the normal component, because it is just a normal component and we totally strip out the connection to Redux, which is what we want. So now with that change here, we can go to the navigation items test file and also copy the setup regarding enzyme and the adapter. Let me copy all of that over to the Burger Builder. Get rid of the imports of the navigation items here. Instead, we're importing the Burger Builder in that file. And now we can start writing tests here. We still do this with the describe function, of course. So here we really are testing the Burger Builder. And now to simulate this, let's quickly have a look at what we could test here. If we have a look at this file, it would be interesting to see if we actually have build controls here, if the ingredients are non-existent, because we should only render that if ingredients are passed along. So what we can do is we can go to that function in the describe function, and we will need to import build controls. So let's add such an import already from /, or let's go up actually to components, burger, build controls, and import from the build controls.js file. And then here, I'll again add a before each function to set my wrapper up. Therefore, I need to add this wrapper variable before I do so. And then in before each, wrapper should be equal to shallow again, because I don't want to do some deep rendering. I want to have an isolated unit test, as you should use it as often as possible. And I want to shallowly render Burger Builder here, just like that. Now for that, we also need to import React as always. So import React from React. Now we can write a test with the it function. And there I will describe it. So it should render build controls when receiving ingredients. Now let's add as a second argument that JavaScript function that should get executed. And now in there, I will simply use my wrapper and first of all set props. And I want to set that INGS prop we're expecting to get. So this prop we're checking here, that INGS prop we're expecting to get. Here, I will set INGS equal to, let's say, a JavaScript object where I have select 0. Now with that, I can use expect and wrapper and find to find my build controls, not a JSX element, just a type here. And this should have a length of 1. Let's save this file and also save the Burger Builder file to really export the class. And in case you're ever getting this error regarding app.test.js, remove the app.test.js file, which with the project started, it actually will mount your entire application and fail due to you using routing. Now, you should still get one error now, that this props on init ingredients is not a function. This error makes sense because Shallow will render your component here, even though it doesn't deeply do that. And in the Burger Builder, if you inspect it, you see that in component.mount, we call this prop. And this, of course, is not made available because we only set one prop, ings. So to fix this, we have to add this as a prop. Now adding it with set props won't do the trick because that is added or that is set after the component has been instantiated, so that's too late. We have to add it here on add init ingredients, and I'll set it to an empty arrow function here to simply fulfill the requirement of passing a function. Now with that, if you save it, the test passes. If we now pass ings to be null, just to check the opposite, it fails. And this is an example which you of course may fine-tune to your need to see how you can test containers. You essentially strip out the component part and get rid of the connection to Redux. Now speaking of Redux, how do we test that then?